So what does somebody actually need to acquire a gun in this country?
If they're going to go start on something like an air rifle, all you need is 2 forms of ID.
So I could actually come in and grab one of those now with my passport and driver's license?
Yeah.
The firearms legislation is in such an unsatisfactory state that it really requires a complete overhaul, a new code where we could look at all of the material, including licensing, and we could produce a more coherent pattern of criminal legislation.
Do you think people realise how many guns there are in this country?
No, I don't think they do, which is probably a good thing. Most people don't even realise the neighbours have got a shotgun.
For many of us in this country, guns aren't really a part of life. And unless you live in the countryside or regularly go clay pigeon shooting, you'd be forgiven for not really knowing much about legal guns at all. So are guns legal in this country, yes or no?
Well, I don't know. I could say yes or no. I don't know if they're legal or not.
Do you know anybody with a gun?
I don't know anybody with a gun. I know people that have been shot.
Legal?
Legal.
Owned. People own guns legally in this country.
In fact, there are over 1.8 million legal guns in this country, and over 700,000 gun licence holders. Last year saw the largest number of legal firearms in the UK since statistics were first collected in 1995. The measures we have around guns are very strict, some of the strictest in the world. And gun deaths are rare here, the majority of those being down to illegal guns. To some though, like the Law Commission, an independent body established by Parliament, our laws are inadequate and need immediate reform.
Under the present law, it's clear that there are criminals who are exploiting these loopholes and putting public safety at risk.
Legal gun owners though say our laws don't need to change. In fact, many think we should have more relaxed laws. They say criminals don't follow gun laws anyway, so stricter laws don't affect them. They tell me that they feel they're too often used as a scapegoat for anything bad that happens in relation to firearms, and that they're not properly given the chance to tell their side of the story. So, I'm on my way to meet some. Hey Callum.
Hi Ben.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to finally meet you.
I like your ride.
Thank you.
It's very nice. Is the shop down here?
Yeah, just down this road.
Is it your typical gun shop?
I would say so.
First, I was meeting a man called Callum to buy some ammunition at a local gun shop. This is the gun shop.
Morning. All right.
Hello. Wow.
Yeah.
So these are guns.
Yeah.
Callum owns 7 guns. He's got a YouTube channel called English Shooting. On it, he talks about everything gun related and campaigns for more access to guns in the UK.
Right, could I have 100 Ely Force, please?
Of course you can. Got your club ID on you?
Yeah.
So how does it work for you, and from your perspective, can you reject somebody if you feel as if they're not suitable for a gun?
Yes, we can. The police give us our licence, and then it's down to our judgment as to whether we serve people.
How would you assess me if I came to the counter and had my pass, my licence? What would you do to kind of, just ask me a couple of questions?
Yeah, if you were stood there shaking, agitated, sweating, I'd probably figure something was wrong. I'd probably offer you a cup of tea and try and figure out what was actually up.
It's such a big responsibility. It's like being simultaneously a sales assistant or manager, because you're a manager, and a counsellor at the same time. Or like a psychiatrist or something.
It's quite a big thing, even sort of the lowliest sales guy in a gun shop has that pressure on them. They can go to prison and get fines for making simple mistakes. But they have quite big consequences, obviously.
I'd like to say there's a method, but there really isn't. I see something I want. It's like women and shoes, I guess.
Man, that's fun. That's a fun gun. I mean, I love it. I've held full-time jobs before, and I loved working those jobs, but I think my true passion is firearms and guns. This has been a project of mine for quite a long time, and I know we shot these the other day at the shooting range, but this one's just a little bit different. Even though the pictogram lower does say that it shoots single shot, 3-round burst and full auto, this is strictly just semi-auto. I don't own any fully automatic weapons. It's just too expensive for my college budget. And this is a really fun rifle, the largest caliber I've ever owned, so that's .308. Definitely really fun to shoot. Very loud. So this is something I picked up not too long ago. By the way, all these guns are registered in my name. I've purchased them all through local places in town or online and gotten them shipped to an FFL. But this is the only gun that's not registered in my name because it was actually an heirloom from my grandfather who passed away a few years ago. I've decided to hold on to that. That'll be something I never sell.
A Remington 870 shotgun. And when I say just like the one I carried in the military, this one's actually full auto. It's an M1 Garand. AR-15, semi-automatic. This is an MP5 SD. It's just a regular old MP5 SD without the suppressor. So that is another AR-15 with a suppressor on it. AK-47, semi-automatic. And I didn't have one, so I ran up to the Walmart and bought one. 1890 Mosin Nagant. Uzi. It's a full automatic machine gun. Ready to start on pistols? One of the things I like about them is just the pure mechanical artistry of the weapon. If you have ever really taken the time to look at a semi-automatic rifle or semi-automatic pistol or even a revolver and watch how all of the intricate parts work with each other, they're beautiful. And I'm going to get a few more guns as soon as I can think about which ones I want to buy. The idea of being able to hit that bullseye when you want to hit that bullseye, that's pretty impressive. It's fun. It's a hobby. And I think there's, part of it, the romantic part of the whole freedom. There's something that people say that free men own weapons, slaves don't. This one is an 1822 Simeon North. It's one of the first pistols and one of the first armaments, actually, the United States government decided to manufacture. And then the DNA of the United States is formed on that independence and on that self-reliance. Plus, there's other things, too. Unlike Europe, we have vast expanses of land. We don't have cities that are just crowded all the time. We have people that have lived out in little towns that have never been to a big city like a New York or a Chicago. And on those areas, the rifle is something that's just a tool that you keep in the truck.
I'm in school right now at Virginia Commonwealth University downtown. I'm just getting my business degree, but I think I want to stay in the firearms industry because I feel like it's not going to be going anywhere soon. I think it's going to be just getting bigger, especially in America. So I just enjoy it. Whether I stay here for a really long time or move on, I just definitely want to stay in the industry for sure. So this is our rental wall right here. We've got all different types of makes and models of handguns. Definitely a fun gun. It's got the light on the end. Just super iconic if you've grown up in the 80s and loved all types of movies like Die Hard and stuff. So the MP5 is really cool. So down on this section of our buildings, our more retail side, we've got personal defense rounds right here that we sell, hollow points and things like that. If you want to purchase a gun, if it's an assault weapon, the ATF classifies an assault weapon as a rifle that's got a collapsible buttstock like this one does, a pistol grip, can take a detachable magazine, a flash hider, and a bayonet lug. Now this SBR does not have a bayonet lug, but this does have 3 out of the 5 criteria that meets the ATF's specifications for what an assault weapon is. So if you get an AR-15 online, you'll need to bring in 3 forms. So you could do driver's license, again, concealed carry permit, voter ID card, vehicle registration, and then that 3rd form is going to be something like proof of citizenship, like a passport. And then as soon as we get that, we go online to the Virginia State Police, background check system, and we enter in all that information. Mine usually come back right away, so I'll submit mine, or someone will submit mine for me when I'm purchasing a gun somewhere, and mine will usually come back approved right away, and then we print out the approval form, and then they pay the transfer fee, which ours is $28, and then they can take their gun home with them. So you can usually get it that day, depending. And that's in the state of Virginia. Each state's different. Some states, I think you might have a wait period, but in Virginia, you can usually leave that day with your weapon.
We've been brought up this way. You know, we've been taught you have a gun, you go hunt animals, and you feed the family. And I think if that's taken away from us as Americans, you know, we lose that sense of self almost, because we've been raised to take care of our families. You know, the feeling you get, one, you've empowered yourself, and I think especially for women, that's very important for us to feel that we are empowered and that we can protect ourselves. It gets us away. We get to go outside, or we get to come places like this, and we get to fire. And, you know, you could practice it, you could get better at it. You've got antique gun collectors that get all excited about these historical guns and pieces. So I think there's so much benefit there that a lot of people are missing out on.
I always thought like what I would do if I wasn't into guns. I mean, I was a musician for many years. I don't even know what I would be doing. I mean, probably maybe still music, maybe something else. But I am really glad that I did find some sort of niche, and I fell in love with it. So it's definitely really fun.
You know, they talk about the 34,000 people that die a year from gun violence. And what you really need to do is deconstruct that number. And when you look at it, 61% of those gun deaths were suicides. And so I'd ask you this, when someone hangs themselves, do you consider that rope violence? When you look at that number and break it down even further, you're going to see that people talk about accidents, because that makes all the news. When some toddler accidentally shoots somebody, or some father accidentally shoots a son, or some husband accidentally shoots a wife because she's coming in late. That is about 600 deaths a year. Again, in a country of 330 million, 600, again, each one is tragic. But is it something to take away a right from the other 330 million?